Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Battle Buddy Podcast. Today, I've got a tremendous guest on. I've been looking forward to getting Logan on to talk about Second Chance Outdoors and some hunting and fishing adventures. It's a topic that we haven't really brought up before on the podcast. So I'm really excited to talk about what they do, how they do it, and how they're helping veterans, kind of navigate through their problems and their issues through taking them on some guided, hunting and fishing tours and using some other things like some journaling and some breath work and some other things. I won't dive too far into it. Let Logan talk about that, but some really great conversation coming up today. So without further ado,
welcome to the Battle Buddy Podcast with Keith McKeever.
So welcome to the show, Logan.
How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going good, man. Glad to finally get you here on the podcast.
I know we've been playing phone tag and calendar tag for a little while.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? You're here finally, so that's all that counts.
That's it.
So I'm excited to. I'm going to go ahead and throw that up there before I forget, because I have a tendency to wait till late in the show to throw the scrolling banner up there. But
That's
Second Chance Outdoors is your nonprofit. But before we get into that, share with everybody a little bit of your background, your military story.
Yeah, Logan McKinney. Grew up in the Kansas City metro area. Joined the Air Force right out of high school. First duty station was Anchorage, Alaska. I was a cop in the Air Force. From there, I went down to Alamogordo, New Mexico, to good old Holloman Air Force Base. If you ever have an opportunity to go, don't.
I've heard that before. As a fellow security forces defender, I've heard that.
You know what? I would have to say the mission and the unit and the folks that I was with at the time were squared away folks. But if you were not like an avid outdoorsman, don't go. If you're into elk hunting, like aoudad hunting, ibex, things like that, 100% go. But if that's not your jam, don't go.
I take it there's a lack of activities in town.
When I was there, we had two bars.
Oh, well, there's something to do.
Two bars. One was Palmside or something like that, and we couldn't even go. It was blacklisted or whatever. And the other place was called Jerry's, and it was just a hole in a wall, rundown small town bar. But on Saturday nights they had country night, so that's where we went.
So there was something, and the other place, I'm sure there's a very legitimate reason why that was blacklisted.
Yeah, you'd get stabbed.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not advisable.
Right, like you shouldn't do that. But yeah, did 6 years in the Air Force, a couple of deployments, got to go on a couple of TDYs as well. After I separated, I was a civilian police officer for another number of years. Stayed in New Mexico because of the outdoors and a couple of other unique opportunities that I had with the sheriff's office that I worked for, and then finally made my way back home here to Kansas City, and where I'm running Second Chance Outdoors.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about Second Chance Outdoors and like where did that idea come from? Obviously, you had a background in hunting and hunting and fishing and stuff like that before, or a passion for it.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I grew up, every year in the Midwest, opening day of whitetail is a thing, right? Like it's religious. We're all going to deer camp, and I would grow up going to our little family farm, go to deer camp, and it was never so much. And I didn't really understand this at the time, but it was never so much about the hunting per se. It was getting together with like-minded individuals, my uncles, my, uncle's uncle, who wasn't really a family in the family, just a buddy that's been around forever, who's now your uncle. You know what I mean? Like just everybody came together, shared in fellowship and camaraderie, and just had a good time. It wasn't really always about the hunt, which it didn't make sense to me when I was a kid, but as I've grown and kind of leaned into this organization a lot, like it makes a whole lot of sense. But long-winded answer, yeah, man. Grew up hunting, fishing, all that good stuff. When I got out, I kind of got away from doing all of that. Doing the civilian cop thing, you face your own trials, tribulations, and things like that come along with, being a civilian police officer. I got away from hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, all the things outdoors. And then one day I just started hiking, found that as like a PT type thing. And then I found a turkey hunt in Southwest Colorado that I went on after coming back from Afghanistan when I contracted. Sat in the mountains with who I learned, didn't know it at the time when I booked this hunt, but I later learned the guide was a veteran when I was in camp, and it was just he and I. And it was one of the most raw, emotional, like awesome, eye-opening hunts that I had been on literally ever, because it wasn't about the hunt. It was literally about me just getting away and going back to something that I knew to be grounding, which was the outdoors, which was hunting, which was getting in camp with like-minded people. Like, I need to go try this. I need to go. I'm just going to go hunt. And for whatever reason, it worked. The idea of Second Chance Outdoors wasn't born right then and there, but like the spark for the outdoors was reignited. So I found myself going outdoors more and more and more, transitioned from civilian law enforcement to corporate America. Again, in that transition, found myself kind of not going outdoors, noticed, some depression, some PTSD symptoms popping up and raising their head, if you will. Went back outdoors, saw it kind of decline. Went on a hunt with a guy who later became a co-founder of the organization, and that's when it was like the aha moment. Man, we laughed so hard, our cheeks hurt. We had a hell of a sheep hunt out in the middle of nowhere, Colorado, and that's when it was kind of like the aha moment of, there's something here. There's something more to this than just getting into camp with your buddies. Like there's something here. And as we've grown, the organization, I've grown in my own journey, in wellness, and have found other modalities to add into the outdoors. So our program goes a little bit more in depth, like you were alluding to, than just simply getting outdoors. We have a whole mental health program that we work through on the mountain, in the tree stand, whatever that is.
So I'm picturing it like this, because I haven't done too much hunting or fishing in years, but I did kind of grow up doing a little bit of that. But there is something about like being outdoors, like when you don't have your phone on you, or it's at least silenced and in your pocket. You're unplugged from the world and all the craziness that's going on, and you're just out there. Doesn't matter if you see anything. Doesn't matter if you shoot anything or you catch anything. You're just there.
You got to disconnect to reconnect.
Right. You're unplugged, but you're plugged back in.
Oh yeah.
You're plugged back into Mother Nature, and or plugged back into to your battle buddy that you're out there with.
And it's a real thing. Like you literally, like you can feel it in your body. Like you can feel, like when what you're talking about, when that disconnect to reconnect happens, like you can feel it. It's wild. It is. I think it's game changing it was for me. And I know that it has been for some other folks.
Oh, I'm sure it has been, because I know you guys have been operating for about 3 years, right?
That's right. That's
And
right.
so I know I've got the list here, but where exactly are you guys? I know you're doing, let's see, fly fishing, elk hunts, whitetail, just about anything that you can get a tag for. I know there's logistical issues there.
Oh yeah.
Probably every organization like yours has those same challenges with government and whatnot, with getting tags and lottery systems and all that. But what states, what areas are you guys operating in then?
So we're based out of Kansas City now, but we will go hunt anywhere. I like my favorite thing to chase is big mountain backcountry style hunting, whether that's mule deer or elk hunting. We will, fingers crossed, because of some weird things going on this year, we will be able to go out to Colorado and get a veteran or first responder out into the mountains and do a backcountry style hunt. Fingers crossed. Colorado had a crazy winter. They've kind of changed up how they're doing some tags this year because of how harsh the winter was. So we're working on that. But we also do like whitetail hunting here in Missouri and Kansas. And that's literally as simple as getting a truck full of guys and going up to where I've got 60 acres, a family farm, and we'll go hunt that. Or the organization just got access to 120 acres south of Kansas City. One of the big goals that I have set for the organization is 4 Barbary sheep hunts in West Texas every year. So that'd be kind of like a staple event that we do, a staple hunt that we would do. And that would be, out there in West Texas. That's actually owned by a veteran in West. His guide service is in West Texas. He's an Army veteran, and he's got access to like just ridiculous amounts of acreage. So it's not high fence, but it's not public land either.
There's a lot of land out there in West Texas.
Dude, it's so big. It literally goes forever.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you could drive literally like a whole day across Texas and not
Yeah, it's
still
awful.
be out of Texas. Yeah,
Never. I had to drive from Alamogordo, New Mexico to San Antonio for Taz school one year. I don't know if you know this, but Taz school is not in San Antonio. It's in Las Vegas. My S4 shop gave me the wrong reporting instructions. So I drove all the way to Lackland, checked in first day of the school, and had to drive right back across Texas.
Oh man.
Dude.
Oh, that'd be brutal.
Yeah. Anyway.
Wow. No, I did drive across Texas a couple of times to go down there for combat leaders course in 7 level school, and it's a long drive.
Yeah.
Like, if anybody's listening and they've never been to Texas or they've never tried to drive anywhere across Texas, like I don't even care if you're going from like Austin to San Antonio, like that is a hike, like that alone, and that's like a short distance for
Right.
Texas anyway.
This long.
So like it's yeah, Texas is huge. Like just you could tell looking at the map, obviously, but it's even worse when you're driving it.
Heck
So,
yeah.
but while we're on the topic of animals, I did have some questions. I was gonna kind of save it for the end, but I'll ask now. What is one dream hunt that is not on your radar? What's something that like that's not already kind of in the works? You kind of mentioned the sheep and stuff in West Texas, but like, what's one thing out there that like, hey, this would just be awesome if we could make this happen?
Sitka blacktail in Alaska.
Okay.
Or caribou in Alaska.
Ooh, that would be interesting.
Sitka blacktail or caribou. I think it'd be really cool. One of like my just personal hunting dreams is 1 year all North American deer species. So Sitka blacktail, mule deer, whitetail, coos deer. 1 year, all 4 with a bow.
Well, that would definitely ratchet up the
Dude,
challenge
it
a
would be
little
like
bit.
dang
You
near
throw the
impossible.
bow in there, yeah.
Just the logistics of it would
Well, I'm
be
thinking of
would
like
be tough.
caribou in Alaska, some wide open spaces. Like it'd be hard enough to make a shot with a rifle, let alone get close enough with a
Yeah.
bow. So,
But yeah,
hey,
caribou
hats
and,
off
and
to you
Sitka
on that
blacktail
challenge.
for sure. In Alaska would be those two big hunts that are possible. Like they're both over the counter. You can just hop up there and go. But it's just the hopping up there and going part.
So no predators, no black bear or anything else like that.
I mean, I've always wanted to hunt black bear, but again, it's not about me. It's about impacting folks and getting them into wild places and into wild things and caribou and Sitka blacktail, like that's about as wild as you can get.
See, to me, like hunting a bear would be a crazy experience, knowing that
We can go.
you're
We
hunting
can go.
something that could hunt you.
We
Like
could go.
there's that fear factor, of
We could
like,
do it with a bow too. You want to? I mean, we
oh,
could.
oh man, you don't
We
want.
can go to
Uh,
Idaho.
I don't know about my bow skills, man. You we might have to push that off a couple of years and let me get some
That's fine.
training in with a bow.
That'll work. They're
Um,
actually coming. They're being not reintroduced, but the black bear population in Missouri is just blowing up. So we won't have to go very far soon.
we've seen a lot of reports here in Illinois of black bears that are kind of wandering across Illinois. So yeah,
Yep,
we're seeing quite a bit of it, and mountain lions as well.
I'm for it. I'm
There's
not for
sightings.
mountain lions. I'm for bears. But
Yeah, I'm not too keen on the whole idea of mountain lion sightings here in
yeah,
Illinois.
mountain kitties
That's
are angry.
um that one I'm not. It's great being from the Midwest. Let me just say that. Where
Not much can eat you.
as a kid who grew up here in Illinois, as a little kid, I grew up in the country where I had to take the garbage out. Now I lived out in the country, dirt road, and as a little kid, like I was afraid of the dark. And I got to take the garbage
Right.
out, like the sounds in the dark. There was like no lights at the end of the road, and like maybe you would hear a sound in the woods, but like seriously, like it was probably a raccoon or a possum, maybe a coyote, like fairly close, but
Maybe
nothing that was going to like hurt you, right?
not rip your face off.
Exactly. But now you start thinking about the fact that there's potentially black bears
And
and
mountain
mountain
kitties.
lions, and like,
Yeah, man, spicy
man,
kitties or
that's
something.
yeah, that's not really a very comforting kind of thing. I'm kind of glad I live in town now,
We when we go out to Colorado, of course, that's always a question. What about mountain lions? What about bears? This, that, and third. Like mountain lions, yeah. Bears, black bear. If you spook, mama with her babies, like okay, you're in for a fight. But if you just see them and they see you, they're kind of going to go away. And if they start to get kind of aggressive, you just get big and loud, and a black bear will typically scamper off. Now, if it's a grizzly bear, good luck.
yeah.
But they're
I
only
hope you have some
they're
bear
only in a
spray
few
and a
spaces.
firearm, maybe. But I mean,
That's what
and a little bit of luck. But
that's what they told us in Alaska. They were like, when I was stationed up there, they said, "Hey, carry bear spray. It's more effective than a firearm. Because
screw it, carry both,
carry both." That's what I'm saying.
and a
That's
big
what I'm
knife,
saying.
because
Just in case,
after that spray's gone and that chamber and that magazine is empty,
right? Like I'm gonna need something.
these hands ain't gonna work.
Uh,
Better have something else to go to. But
we
yeah, the spicy
I've
kitties, as
come
you put them to,
across
like
a couple of bears. Um, haven't had I've had a couple of lion, like mountain kitty encounters, but I didn't see them. But we saw tracks and probably where they were living. But I've never had anything too wild. Where it was like,
I've seen a few of the videos on TikTok and or YouTube Shorts and whatnot of people just out hiking, and they can get pretty aggressive, tracking people down. Like
heck yeah,
I lived out in Colorado and I was a hiker, or anywhere where they're predominant, I would make sure that I'm
packing
packing
every time.
every single time I go out.
Yep.
I'd be out there looking like John Rambo. I go play around. That
Heck
thing better
yeah,
get me from behind. I better not see it. That's the only way it's
right.
killing me.
That's yep.
So, yep. But anyway, I mean that'd be my personal like. I don't know. To me, I mean all of them be fun. Or hog hunts would be fun too.
I think hog hunting would be.
I
Oh
mean
yeah,
any of them would be fun. But
I think hog hunting from a helicopter would just be like if we're talking about just fun and not like a challenge type hunt. Hog hunting by far just get out there and slay them,
I don't know.
and then have
Last time
tacos.
yeah, there you go. Last time I went whitetail hunting, it was a challenge, but I just sat there in the blind with my good friend that I grew up with, and we just sat there for hours and hours and hours and froze our butts off. Only to find out that the deer were literally hanging around the four wheelers that we parked on the other side of the field. So, it's like there's a challenge there, I guess.
Oh yeah,
To fight the boredom. So after that, I was like, why am I doing this? I hate the cold. I mean, I really hate the cold weather. and I'm sitting out here hoping that one of these creatures just walks right in front of me, and they're like,
See,
"Screw you, we're gonna
you're
hang
just
out over the
hoping.
hill."
You're doing it a little. You got to scout. You got to go out beforehand and just figure out what they're doing. But then that's
Uh,
where it's like, like you got to put time to it. And
See, I left that to my buddy. It was his family farm. He had the
see, then
blind
that's
all
on
set up,
him.
and he's just like, "Oh, this is where we're setting up." I'm like, "Cool, man, that's good. Like,
Roger that.
that's what you say we're doing. It's good. It's your farm, man." I mean, I've been friends with
Yep.
this guy since like preschool. Like, hey, that's cool, man. That's where we're going. That's where we're going.
He's not going to take me snipe hunting today, right?
Yeah, I mean, they made fools out of us, but that is what it is.
Oh yeah,
He's
it
gotten the best of
happens.
them a few times. I'll give him credit. I've just never been there to see it. So
It'll it'll happen. It'll come together for you.
yeah, maybe one of these days. So, but they lead me into the next question. Then, what has been your absolute favorite hunt that you've been on?
Oh man, that sheep hunt where the light bulb went off. That was one of them. Um, that was just personally fulfilling for me. Um, kind of got me to where I am here talking with you today. Uh, but that had to have been it. That had to have been probably one of my, if not my favorite hunt. I mean, my first deer kill, that one, that's a wild ass story, but that was fun. Um, but just having that light bulb moment and almost refinding that purpose and mission in life was it. Like, yeah, I killed a great ram, killed a beautiful, beautiful sheep. Have him mounted in the house. But when I see that ram, I don't think of the animal. I think of the hunt. I think about everything that went into it. I see Second Chance Outdoors when I see that ram. Like there's just so much more about that hunt than that harvest. That's why it's probably my favorite year to date for sure.
That makes sense. Now, has there been of course, I don't want the particulars because of the people situation, but has there been anybody that you've taken out, any particular hunts where once you're done, like you see like a drastic impact, a drastic change in somebody where you're like, wow, okay, now we've really made a change in this person?
Uh, 100%. There was one in Utah that we went on, veteran and an active duty guy, both Army. Um, one guy, and we were in the mount. We were on the mountain for like 6 days on that one, and that was one of our very first like sanctioned, board approved hunts that we did. So it was, you know, new programming is still kind of clunky, if you
Very,
will. You know what I
very much
mean? Like,
winging it at that point. Huh?
yeah, yeah. Um, and I had one of the guys that was in camp call me after, it'd been, a couple weeks after that. He's like, "Hey man, I just want to let you know I haven't drank since we got back, and I have the best relationship I've ever had with my wife, and I just want to thank you." I'm like, "Man, that was the mountains. Mountains are talking. Listen, wasn't me. I just took him there. We had conversations, um, real conversations on the side of the mountain in camp. And no booze, no nothing, no phones, no service, no anything like that. So it was just solely focused on the task at hand, which was killing an elk and looking inward. Um, he took that forward. I had a guy last year, that we took out to Colorado, his very first time going to Colorado. We were sitting at 11,000 something feet in the middle of the night, sitting by the fire, kind of recapping the day, just BSing. And he told a story and was able to essentially close a chapter of his life and then start to write, the next chapter. He lost his brother to the mountains. The mountains took his brother from him, um, in a plane crash. And so he never got back to the mountains. He never went into the mountains for kind of that fear. Um, and he does nonprofit work now as well. But taking him in there, having him almost face that fear and having that closure has completely it's helped him whenever you kind of get to close that grieving process chapter. Like, dude, you just get weight completely lifted off your shoulders at that point. Um, Same hunt. Our photographer, he was a Army veteran, Iraq War veteran. He told a story in camp, and I'm not gonna share his story. He's a phenomenal photographer. His company is called Great White Oak Media, and so you can go find him. That's why I'm not going to share his in particular story. But after that night of stories and talking and just working through some stuff, he woke up that next day and he looked around at the mountains. He said, man, these things talk. I said, what? And he looks around, he's pointing at the mountains, and dude, the place that we're in, I cannot describe to you, but it's like just breathtaking gorgeous, just absolutely stunning. He's like, these things talk to you, and I get it. I get this now. Let's roll. And packed up camp and off we rolled on the hunt, man. Like, it was, there's been some really cool interactions and conversations that have happened in camp that I know that it's not just me that, has benefited from the outdoors, but it's almost reaffirming that, holy shit, this works. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
absolutely. I mean, that's why I asked. I figured without a doubt that there's probably numerous situations where you literally sat there and either heard it or saw it right on somebody's face, like that moment where
Oh yeah.
that weight lifted off, or somebody's just like, oh, hey, the world's just changed for them. The perspective has changed. The mindset's changed.
That's it. I mean, because you talk about wellness as a journey, right? Like, not as an end state. And so while we're in camp, we kind of talk about that. Like, guys, what happened to you doesn't define who you are. Like, if you got hit with an IED, or if you've been involved in an officer involved shooting, or whatever that looks like, yes, that happened to you, but it doesn't define who you are. And you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. You just got to practice. And that's all this is. That's all this wellness journey is practicing and putting into practice modalities and procedures and tactics to help you get to more better days. Because I still have bad days. I'm sure you still have bad days, and it's, you know what? It's all right. Because sometimes you stub your toe first thing in the morning, you're like, there it is. There's the day.
Yeah. Well, the trick is to have more good days than bad days for sure.
That's it. And we talk about giving yourself a little bit of grace, right? Post-traumatic stress, post depression, anxiety, all these things that come from service. It's a normal reaction to an abnormal event that occurred. You know what I mean? And like, it's okay. And you got to accept that getting blown up is terrifying. Being involved in an officer involved shooting is absolutely terrifying. Losing a friend to suicide or losing a friend in combat is that grief is tremendous. And it's word that you can't even put into words. But if we put into place practices and procedures and give ourselves a little bit of grace for when we have bad days, guess what? Those bad days aren't as bad. It's like, you know what? I'm working. I'm trying. I'm getting better a little bit each day. A little bit better each day. Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, one thing I personally like to do, it's really helped me over the last probably 5 or 6 months, is just remind myself every morning to be grateful, every day. Like, hey, I'm here today. Today may not go my way. It may not go the way I planned it. May not go perfect. Well, nothing's perfect, but
Nothing's perfect.
I'm here. My family's here. I got the chance to make today,
A good day.
the best day that I can.
That's it.
And as somebody, that I know kind of says, he just wants to make himself 1% better today, which I love. It's like you shouldn't end today the same as you were yesterday. As long as you're at least 1% better, as long as you know a little something better, or you add a little skill, or you've achieved something today, like it's a good day.
Today is a good
Be
day.
grateful for it.
It's awesome that you mentioned gratitude because like I'm going to try to do this. In our
Yeah.
like what we bring up on the mountain with us. This is weird, but we literally take a journal onto the mountain or into the deer stand, and every morning, guys that come through us with us, they wake up and give me your daily goals for the day, and give me just 3 things that you're grateful for. Whether that's waking up, breathing, and coffee. Like I don't care what and how basic those 3 things are. Like just wake up and find something to be thankful for because it changes your mindset for the whole day. Like the whole
Immediately.
day. Like the
It's a
whole
heck of a
day.
lot better than like flipping on your phone and going to social media and all of a sudden it's negative stuff, or flipping on the TV, seeing the news and all of a sudden it's negative stuff. Like it's immediately starting with positive.
I have put into practice in my life no phone when I wake up in the morning. There's a little caveat to that because I work out in the morning, and so I use my phone for my workouts, and then I use it to track my rucks. That's it. Can use it to track my workout and track my rucks. No social media, no emails, no nothing until after breakfast. Because like I want to be present during my workout. I want to be present during breakfast with my family before everybody departs for the craziness of the day. Then I'll dive into. I try to stay off freaking social media in the morning, man. Like, even though you have to do it, like God,
It's a weird double-edged sword, isn't it?
I
Like
hate social media, man.
I
But
wish I didn't have it, but when you're a business owner, whether it's for profit or not, like you
you
have to
have
be
to.
on it. Like you have to be engaged. It's like I don't want to, but I have to. Like
One thing that we've been talking about as an organization and as a board is growth, right? Because if we're not growing, we're dying, and we want to grow as an organization to take our mission further. And it all, man, social media videos. So everybody's harping on me right now, and I mean this in the most playful possible. I love my board. Like without them, I couldn't do what I do. But they're like, dude, you got to do more videos. I'm like, so I'm trying when I get out in my rucks in the morning to do like a little video, but I hate just holding my phone and like walking down the street and like I don't know, man. Like I'm not a toot my own horn, raise my flag and clap for me kind of guy. Like I'm putting in the work. We're gonna take you hunting. We're getting it done on the back end. Like let's roll.
sometimes it takes a mindset shift
Yeah.
of like sometimes epic proportions to like get adjusted to video.
Oh yeah.
Doing this podcast actually helped me with my business with doing video. It got me a lot more comfortable with doing video, but you still have to
Just do it.
sometimes just get creative and just do it because it's different. Like those aren't interviews. It's just me shooting video and then upload it. Like, so sometimes you just have to just do it, even though it's uncomfortable
Yep.
or
And
and it's
and that's what it is. It's like just doing the thing that you know is what's going to promote growth, whether that's personal or professional. And you know what? It's probably going to be a little weird.
perspective wise though. I don't know how old you are, but I assume we're about the same age.
Oh yeah. 34.
Okay. I'm 38. So we're in that same generation where we know and understand how to use social media. We get all of that,
Yep.
but we're not young enough where like we use it all the time for everything. And we're not old enough where we have
Everything.
no clue and we can just rely on being clueless.
Right?
So it's like kind of a double-edged sword of like, yeah, you're young enough, like you know what to do and you should be doing it, but you're
You
not
should be doing this.
you don't have the muscle memory of being young enough to be like, "Well, I grew up with all these social platforms being a
Yep.
part of my life since I was a baby.
Yep.
And so therefore my entire life has
Has
been on
grown up
Facebook and Twitter and
this way.
Instagram and all these different things. Like as young adults, these platforms came out, and we were, I mean, I had Facebook when it was a .edu account. I mean,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
that o- I'm that
Oh yeah.
old, so like, it's like, yeah, I've seen every iteration of Facebook. Doesn't mean that it's like I know I've seen all kinds of versions of it. Like I know how to use it.
Doesn't mean I
It doesn't mean
wanna.
that it becomes natural for me to just use it every single day.
And
It
and
doesn't.
that's
It's not
part
a natural part of my life every
of.
single day to just use it.
And it's so negative. Like there's so much negative stuff on social media. It seems like that's all it like fake, like just news, hostile news. It's never anything good, right?
That's why I was on there this morning posting stuff for the pod. I just schedule stuff like for my
Yep.
business. I just make the posts. I schedule them. If I see that there's something I need to respond to, I respond to it, and I try to just keep it adjusted. That my personal page, same thing. Like I try and post some stuff every now and then, and just get on there and respond to stuff. I try not to scroll through, and I definitely try not to engage because it's just sad what some people will post.
Dude,
I don't want to
post
go too far down the rabbit hole, but it's weird what some people will post, and they post very decisive stuff, which you have to be very careful as a business owner. For profit.
oh
I mean,
yeah.
I know you're in business too, like for profit business, but you've got this nonprofit. Like, it's weird what people will post and try and get people to like.
Dude,
I almost fell for the
I'm
trap
like,
this morning on something. Here we are recording this in June, and that's all I'm going to say. But there's a couple of things that June is known for as a month, and people were
mhm.
trying to pick one side over the other, and I'm like, you can support both at the same time. It's okay. What's the harm?
How about just don't be a jerk to people? Like,
Yeah,
how about let's just
like
be a good human?
exactly. Just be a
Let's
good
try that
human.
one on size.
We can leave it at that.
Yeah,
It's not that difficult, people,
it's
for crying
really
out
not.
loud. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's really not that difficult. But for some reason, people make it harder than it should be. So,
Yes.
but, anyway, back to humans and good people. Before we go down too far down that rabbit hole.
Like that
Uh,
could be a
the
whole
humans
nother
that you
show.
the humans that you help with your nonprofit, who is your ideal candidate that you guys like to take out on these expeditions?
So the ideal candidate for us is active duty veteran, first responder, honorably discharged, and there's reasons for this that'll come full circle here. Legally allowed to possess a firearm, so there's that one, right? A wildlife tag license, so just being able to legally being able to go hunting, right? Um, I'm not looking. We are not a crisis response organization. So if you're in current crisis, really struggling with the thought of suicide or the thought of like harming yourself or whatever, like we're not going to take you to the backcountry because that's not the place for you right now. There's a lot of things that can go wrong in the backcountry, and
You might be a little bit more suited for a fishing tour or something like that versus
you know,
way out in a
yeah,
remote environment. Yeah.
absolutely, and that's for the safety of everybody involved, right? Quite frankly, and our resources. I am not. We aren't a crisis response organization. You know what I mean? So we're looking for somebody who has maybe been in crisis and has come out of that, right? Like they're on the upside of coming out of that hole, and they know that they've put into practice a few things, and then they know that they don't want to go backwards, and they're looking inward to get better. That's who I want to talk to. I want to talk to that police officer. I want to talk to that firefighter. I want to talk to that veteran. Those are the kind of folks we want to talk to. People who are out of crisis, that are looking to grow and get better after surviving, that ordeal.
Would it be safe to assume people that are just kind of just trying to navigate their trauma, navigate their mental health, trying to just find that clarity, like just trying to navigate that stress, navigate that I guess I'll say a minefield when it comes to your mindset. Like
Oh yeah,
it's a weird place to try to figure out like who am I now and where am I and keep everything clear. And you know.
Sometimes you just need outside perspective and go sit on a mountain and have a cup of coffee. So yes, I think that's a great way of putting it, and another, I guess, category of veterans and first responders that we would love to connect with and love to help.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I figured it was really important to kind of paint that picture of, the kind of people that you can really help and who you can't help.
Now, if you
Um,
are in crisis, like I have resources and other organizations that we're tapped into that I can direct you to. So please, like, don't not call me if that's the situation. But again, we're on the other side of that. We're on
right.
the growth. We're on the growth side of it.
There's only so much you can do. And that's a good point to say. I'll scroll this up here. If somebody is struggling and they're at that point, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 988 press one. So I'll go ahead and leave that up there for a minute.
And
But
veterans, don't knock the VA crisis line. Like, don't knock it. It works. It's there for a reason. It has a very specific task, and it's very good at its task. So if you are in that position, reach out to the Veterans Crisis Line as well. Cops, I know they kind of are in a weird space, kind of like, well, you were a cop in the Air Force, very very similar spot. Like, mental health is a weird thing that you kind of don't talk about, and it's the same way in civilian law enforcement. For law enforcement officers, there's an organization called 1-800-COPS. I believe it's on our resources page, but that is essentially the Veterans Crisis Line for police officers, ran by retired police officers who are now like licensed counselors and credentialed people to be able to help you. And then what they do is they take it to the next level and help that police officer find inpatient or outpatient care outside of their agency so they can remain protected.
oh, that's nice to know. I did not know that.
It's
So
way cool.
that is really good to know.
Had a friend of mine who's a really good friend of mine, a survivor, and owes it to those guys. So
That's really good to know. I
yep.
definitely will keep that in mind. I may have to find a nice little place on my website to highlight that as well. So, another thing I wanted to ask, kind of about the people that you take out is obviously sometimes transporting firearms and stuff like that. So, what should people know about transporting firearms or transporting things across state lines and different things like that? Or are you guys taking care of some of that stuff for them, or how does the logistics work on some of that stuff?
So logistically, like, transporting firearms over state lines, if we're running through communist states and stuff like that, obviously we're going to have to abide by commie laws. But typically the folks that we're working with, cops, firefighters, military, they're all up to speed on safe firearm transportation. But as far as the actual logistics of the hunt, Keith, say I'm taking you on a hunt, man. Literally, I'm going to make a phone call to you. I'm going to drive over to your house, whichever one it is, right? We're going to have a conversation. I'm going to say, I'm going to take you hunting. You don't have to worry about anything else. I'm going to start sending you lists, training guides if we're going out west on a big backpack style hunt, because you got to be in a shape. You don't have to be in 9.5 minute, mile and a half PT stud shape, but you got to be prepared for hiking. You know what I mean?
A lot of people just let out a sigh of relief right there.
Right. You don't have to be like David Goggins to go elk hunting, people. Trust me, because I am not. But you do want to put in some effort preseason to make the actual experience that much better. Because if you're just like sucking wind the whole time, like,
So
it's
start
not.
training at David Goggins level, like 10%, and you'll be good. You'll be
Yeah.
fine.
So we'll send it. But as a second chance, we take care of everything. We pay for your tag. We pay for your license. We pay for your gas. If you're flying, we'll pay for the airfare. Anything that comes from the hunt, anything that involved with the hunt, our organization covers. Because we also know that I was a civilian police officer. I was in the military. Like, you don't get paid a lot. And sometimes a week-long hunt can be, costly. for a first responder or a veteran. So if we can just ease one more burden, then I can get them to be a little bit more open, a little bit more relaxed, and a little bit more focused on the task at hand, which is wellness, not a financial burden.
Awesome. Well, that definitely helps people. So I guess last thing I want to talk about, you kind of alluded to it. You showed the journal earlier, but you mentioned journaling when we talked before, and I love this stuff. Journaling, breath work, and meditation, which
Yeah.
I think are three things that I absolutely love. That you kind of talk to all these men and women that you would take out, that you kind of talk about these things and try and get them to work on, practice, and stuff like that. So, tell us why those things, and how you're kind of teaching those and trying to intertwine that into the hunts.
Why those things? Why journaling? Journaling for me, and I can only speak on personal experience, right? Is it's a tangible release of information, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, right? If I'm journaling and I just need to get something out, if I'm having a day, right, and I need to get something out of my brain, or I'm in a fog and I can write about it, like I can get it out and essentially like turn a page and close it, right? Like it's there. It's no longer causing anxiety. It's no longer causing stress, because that's what we're trying to mitigate. But it also gives you something to look back at too, right? So we're talking about, this is a journey. We want to see where we've come from and where we're going and things like that. Well, I know that some days I have bad days. Why did I have that bad day? If I'm keeping a log of kind of like what I was doing that day, and think I can start to track those key metrics almost of what may or may not have caused that bad day, and I can start to mitigate and minimize those stressors. That's another good way of looking at it. But again, talking about the mindfulness and meditation portion too, we have a portion in our journal that we take out on hunts called midday mindfulness. And what that is simply in the middle of the day, stop, read the journal prompt, and it is a mindfulness prompt. It is all about being where you are, being where your feet are, and then writing about it. Because then, Keith, like, say you're my hunter, if I can get you to that space, you're going to feel it in your body, right? You are going to feel like this immediate calm. You're going to feel it in your shoulders. You're going to feel it in your body. You're going to feel relaxed. You're going to feel grounded. Then I can look and be like, that feeling right there, that one. Think about it. Remind it. We keep it. Think about it forever. Because then we can roll into the next piece, which you were talking about, breath work, right? If I was talking to a veteran on a hunting trip about, hey, man, we're going to work on some meditation and breath work. And I'm like, what? You want me to do?
What kind of crazy shit are you talking about?
Yeah, like what kind of hippie crap are you talking about? Like, listen, man, like it's fine. Listen. But if I can get you to physically feel that and then backwards plan you from there to work your breath work into that, then you're going to know what it feels like. You're going to almost know what it looks like to be successful in that breath work. And then we just practice breath work. Simple, basic breathing techniques. What they call it in security forces, conjuring. I'm sure they called it that and everywhere else. You
Sounds
know what
about
I mean?
right. Yep.
Just a few seconds in, hold, a few seconds out, repeat. And literally all you got to do is focus on breath in and the breath out. And then when we get to that point and we're talking about that stuff in camp, they'll start practicing it on their own. We'll sit down on a ridge and start glassing, and then I'll see people, man. I'll see them practice. And you know that, like, they're buying in. And by, the end of the week, they're 100% bought in, and we have now given them tools, tactics, and procedures to come off the mountain with, practice in their daily life, and start getting better. Like,
I love it.
I think I answered your question. I'm not sure. I kind of blacked out on freedom there
hey,
for a minute.
no, I I love it. Like I said, I know we talked about it before when we talked a handful of weeks ago. Like I love those things, but
Dude, it works.
those are things that I've incorporated into my life for a variety of reasons here for a handful of months, and I have found them to be incredibly powerful, especially um, meditation, um, just meditation and reflection.
Yes.
Not necessarily journaling, but just constant reflection. I constantly reflect. Yeah, anything happens good or bad, and I'm constantly reflecting, business deals or this, that, and the other happens in life, and I'm always reflecting. Okay, what happened? Why? What went good? What went bad? What could I have done differently, good or bad? You know what I mean? And just
Hmm.
always assess the situation or decisions happen in life, and just what was within my control, what was out of my control.
It's
Just
funny you mentioned
like
that.
what am I letting to bother me and not
I
bother me?
I was just I before we went live, I was telling you I had the construction thing occur, and I was sending out firing off emails trying to figure out who this construction company, this, that, and the third, right? And I just stopped for a minute. I wouldn't call it meditation. I wouldn't call it true like real breath work, but literally just took a couple of big deep breaths and had a thought like, man, this is a lot like reacting to contact, right? I have my day planned. We have a mission planned. That mission and that day are supposed to go X, Y, and Z. I think one of the things that we get caught up with as veterans or first responders that have been in that situation think of negative things that come into our day as something completely wildly and just completely uncontrollable. Well, think about it when you're working the street on a traffic stop. The guy turns and shoots at you. That's uncontrollable, right? But you trained and you practiced and you thought through it. Take that same mindset to your day when you're thinking about all those crazy things that come into play and wreck your day. Well, think of it almost like as a near ambush, right? Like react to the contact, receive the information, breathe a little bit because we're not under fire. It's not life or death right now. Breathe for a second, process that information, and best possible make the best decision possible. And guess what? You're not always going to make the right one. Give yourself a little grace. That one for me, man, giving myself a little grace has been an absolute game changer for myself.
Yeah,
And
and
I won't.
when you don't make the right decision, reflect on it
Yeah,
and learn
and
from it.
learn.
Don't just be like, "Oh man, I'm stupid. Man, I
I,
made the wrong decision." That's the wrong attitude to take. Just be like, "Oh, okay. I really goofed that up. What was my mindset when I made that decision? What were the factors that led me to decide that?" Because in that moment, that was the right decision. You didn't have other information to make the right decision. If you would have, you might have made the right decision.
right?
So,
Just
you
learn
know, you learn from it and be like, okay, I learned from it. And so if I'm faced with this again, hopefully I react to that contact in a
a little bit better.
totally better way.
1% better.
1% better, right? Exactly. Like it's all you can do. So
And
there's a lot to that, man.
I want anybody who's listening to realize that, guys, this isn't a destination. Like wellness isn't a like you don't get to an end state. It's just practice. It is literally just trying to suck a little bit less each day. Like I read that alpha of Softly. Their little slogan is suck less a little bit each day. Like it's a harsh way of saying get 1% better.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because is there anybody in this world you could look at and be like, that person is perfect?
No, not one
No,
person.
not one person.
They don't
So
exist.
if you can't point to that person, you definitely can't point to yourself and say this person's perfect.
Yep.
So nobody's gonna get there.
Nope.
So yeah, exactly. All you can do is just be 1% better.
Practice and grace and go hunting.
Absolutely.
Get outside.
Get
Do something
outside, get
cool
yourself
too.
grounded. Yep. Absolutely. So man, there's a lot of great stuff there, Logan. I appreciate you stopping by and sharing. But
Absolutely.
before I let you go, any particular place that everybody obviously still got to scroll and it'll be in the show notes too, but where can everybody reach Second Chance Outdoors at?
Secondchanceoutdoors.net. Has it? Secondchanceoutdoors.net is our website. Second Chance underscore out second underscore chance underscore outdoors. I would imagine if you just search Second Chance Outdoors on all social media platforms, you'll find us. If you need to get a hold of me, shoot me an email, Logan at secondchanceoutdoors.net. Man, that's it. We're all social media platforms. I think we have a TikTok. I've never used it, so I don't like social
Well,
media. We've had this
apparently you need to
conversation.
do more videos and get them on
Yeah,
there. So
let's do one more thing. Gonna be all right.
I challenge
I'll
your
do
board to make some videos. There you go.
right. Like you guys do this too.
Yeah, flip the
Uh,
script. Yeah.
I'll just throw it on. I'll be posting some videos as we get ready for a big event we have in Kansas City coming up on Instagram. So that's where I'll do that. Now I have to do it because I put it out on your show too.
Yeah.
Shit.
Well, hey, you speak it into existence. You have to
Like
make it
now you
happen.
got to do it.
Now you're held to it. The
Yep,
accountability factor.
accountability. That's it.
So awesome.
That's it.
Well, Logan, I once again I appreciate you stopping by and sharing with us, and
Yeah, brother.
hope you good luck on whatever the next hunt is.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. I
Yep.
appreciate it.
Yep.
We'll talk soon.
There you go, folks. I hope you enjoyed. Remember, the website is battlebuddypodcast.net. As I always say, if there's a resource not on there that you think should be, please reach out and let me know. Love to take a look at possibly adding it on there. And if you're struggling with anything, the National Suicide Hotline number is 988-PRESS-1, or you can text 838-255.